We turn now to actor and best-selling author Holly Robinson Peete. She's also a dedicated mom, dedicated to changing the world for her son, Rodney Peete Jr. Rodney was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder when he was 3. Holly really struggled with the diagnosis at first before becoming an activist and advocate for families like hers through the Holly Rod Foundation. Holly and her son, who is now 24 years old, are telling their story in a brand new book. Charlie Makes a Splash is about a young man with autism discovering his love for being around water. They write, "When you're a kid like me, you see the world in special ways, and making a splash sets me free." Please welcome here Holly Robinson Peete. Good to see you.
Good to be seen. How are you doing?
Good.
Happy Labor Day. So,
Labor Day.
Does he love to swim? How did this come about?
This kid loves to swim so much. So when RJ was 3 years old, he was diagnosed with autism. We call that the never day. Why? Because we heard all these things he would never do. One of them was, have meaningful employment, have friends, say I love you, all those things. And, that's hard for parents to hear. But the one thing he could do when he was 3 was swim better than anyone else. So in his swim class, he wasn't verbal. He wasn't able to really read the social cues and connect with the other kids. But that little boy was a fish, and he felt so good in the water.
What is the relationship for children on the spectrum with water?
I don't know, but some children, certainly mine, gravitate towards water. He gravitates towards water. He loves water. He loves to splash. He loves the feeling of water around him. It makes him feel better sensorially. And so, and also, we do hear a lot about kids with autism, drowning, quite honestly. And that's because a lot of them are driven. They love the water. They kind of gravitate to it. And so my brother Charlie, which was the original book, and this is the companion piece, Charlie Makes a Splash, has a lot of back matter in the back of the book talking about how important it is to teach children, all children, but certainly children with autism, how to swim.
It's funny. Well, not funny, it's ironic that you're here because my daughter was telling me that there is a child in her class who has autism.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where I stopped and realized I don't quite know how to explain this.
Yes.
How do you explain it?
Well, one of the reasons why we wanted to write this book is because when my kids were in elementary school, they didn't have a book. There was no book, and I went to Scholastic and I said, you guys, autism is so prevalent, yet there's no book to really explain it to elementary school kids. So that's why we wrote my brother Charlie along with my daughter, and then this time Charlie Makes a Splash along with RJ, because often you'll hear about people with autism and you'll hear parents or siblings talking about them, but we wanted RJ to be the author so he could speak for himself and self-advocate. So I think my brother Charlie and Charlie Makes a Splash are great books to explain to children that autism is a disorder and it kind of impacts the way people relate and socialize. But the more we know early on, I think the less judgment and more compassion we are able to cultivate with children.
And he's now been working for the Dodgers for the last 7 years.
So one of the things they said he would never do was have meaningful employment, and now the kid, 20 years later, has a World Series ring with the Dodgers. My favorite team. They're doing quite well right now. The good news is he's a clubhouse attendant with them, and they presented him with the ring, and it was a real moment, a full circle moment. So I'm always thankful to the Dodgers for hiring inclusively.
Holly, do you find that him, for example, having that job and really having to socialize, does that continue to help him get better at socializing?
Yes, he has purpose. He has a sense of belonging. He has friends.
Yeah.
Kids that didn't have friends most of his life growing up. So he has all these big baseball players that are always looking out for him. And that's amazing, right? That's such a great thing. It's something he didn't have.
I remember when you started talking about autism, when you first thought about your husband was like, nope, ain't doing that.
No.
We're not talking about that. And you did. And what happened to you when you went to
Well, I win every argument at home.
Boom.
Just do.
As wives do.
Just do. That's why we're married 28 years. No, because he couldn't see the bigger picture he didn't want his kid to be the poster child for autism.
Yep.
He was in denial. A lot of dads really struggle with this diagnosis. And so I stepped in and said, we can help people. We can advocate for folks. I have a big mouth. Let's use it for good.
But at Disney, what happened to you?
We went to Disney World and we went and met a family. A family came up to us and said, thank you for advocating. Both of my daughters are on the spectrum. And RJ was so sweet. He was like, Mom, what did they want? Why did they thank me? And I said, because you advocated, shared your story, and it helped them. And so he said, does that make me a hero? I was like, well, yeah, it kind of does. Kind of does. But then later on, you know, I found like a halo of pizza under his bed. And I was like, what is that? I'm fussing at him. He's like, I have autism. It makes me a hero. What's wrong with the pizza? So it's something that, you know, autism is something that we all should understand more and be compassionate about. And Charlie Makes a Splash is something, it's a book I'm so proud of, especially with him being a published author.
Holly Robinson Peete, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time. Holly's new book, Charlie Makes a Splash, is available tomorrow.